Okay, Feeding Tube episode 3 is a go.
Feeding Tube episode 3 is a go.
Right after the last one.
Right after the last one.
So we left off by talking about some of your spooky experiences.
Spooky, scary skeletons.
Before we jump in to that, I guess I'll chime in with my extensive list of spooky experiences, which is precisely none. I've never seen anything
Never seen anything.
remotely paranormal, heard anything remotely supernatural,
Yeah.
nothing alien related.
Are you scared of the dark, Kevin?
Not so much, no.
Okay, continue.
Like I rack my brains for anything that I've seen that's been extremely abnormal, and like I just can't think. I mean, the only thing I could possibly connect to that sort of thing is I was like 5 or 6 and my grandma had just died on my dad's side, and I thought I heard her say my name outside of my bedroom door, and my door was open, just like how you said you don't like it open. And I could have sworn when I was laying in bed, like about to go to sleep, I could have sworn I heard somebody say my name, and I thought it was her. But it was like really faint. I was 5 or 6.
You know.
Probably nothing, and probably just in my head. Probably because I was tired. Sometimes when it was just like a couple weeks ago, when I was super tired. I'd only gotten like 4 hours of sleep the night before. And it was like a Friday night, so I was staying up late already. And like, once you get really tired and you're like, your vision will kind of start to get fuzzy if you look at anything for too long. Or,
Start to zone out.
And
unfocus.
yeah, exactly. And like,
visual unfocus, yeah. I need to take off my sweatshirt. Continue.
And like for a second, I thought I saw my sister walking into the bathroom out of the corner of my eye, but I turned and looked and there was nothing. But it was just like my vision doing something fuzzy. Not necessarily my sister specifically, just like somebody, and she was the only one.
You just assumed it was your sister.
But I turned right away. I was like, oh, she's in her room. Like, but it was just because I was really tired. But that reminds me, another thing we could do as a live action video. I don't know how big a fan you'll be of this idea.
Oh God.
Is to stay up for as long as possible.
Yeah. For
multiple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We could talk. We'll talk a little bit about staying awake before we jump in back to the stories, because like, if you're awake for, let's say, 24 hours straight, my dad is often awake for like 20 hours straight or close to 24. But in my experience, I've only done that like. I've only gotten close a couple times, but like that'll happen where your vision starts to get a little fuzzy, or like I'll even like kind of think I hear something like out of like in my ear, like just really faint, like a voice or something. But it's like it's clear. I know it's just me being tired, and it's like just in my head. But then I hear that I think around 36 hours, or maybe 2 days straight. Somewhere between 36 and 48 hours, that's when you actually start hallucinating things, which really isn't that. And it's probably just, it's not like full-fledged detailed people. It's probably just like the same kind of deal that you see out of the corner of your eye, just not really in the corner of your eye.
Yeah. I feel it's like the equivalent of kind of being drunk.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And like, but that's when, and it's kind of weird because really that's not that long of a time. Like the 36 hours, that's not that. I mean, it would feel like a long time, but it's really not that long before you start seeing stuff and hearing a lot of stuff.
No,
too.
Yeah,
auditory hallucinations.
And relative to not just how you experience it, 36 hours isn't that long. Yeah, like within like how the body reacts to shit.
Yeah, I think I read that the human body can only function 100%, like at 100% capacity for 14 hours straight until you start. I know it's kind of is pathetic.
It's pathetic.
But like you can obviously go longer, but 14 hours at max potential. In which, I mean, I'm awake on average for 12, 14, 16, 20, maybe 20 to 21 hours. Actually, I'm awake.
Wow.
Well, hold on. Maybe that's wrong. 14 hours would be 7:30. 16 hours would be 9:30. Okay, so maybe we're like 17 or 18 hours at a time.
I'm probably awake. What's 24 minus 6?
18. So we're like about the same.
Yeah. Because I go to bed around 12, wake up at 6:45.
Yeah, I go to bed around 11, wake up at 5:30.
Yeah. So yeah.
which is not enough sleep. I don't think. I gotta get at least 7 hours to feel super well rested.
Like no, definitely.
But yeah, it really can. And once you get like, I've read a couple of people's stories, or like on a Mr. Robot at one point. There's a really great sequence where Elliot stays up for like 6 days straight because he's like really high on
cocaine.
I think it's Adderall. He's like popping a ton of pills because he wants to keep Mr. Robot out of his head.
Okay.
But and like at first everything's okay, and then he starts seeing things and his vision starts to get all wacky, and when he hears people talking, he like can't understand what they're saying, and like words will be out of order, and like there'll be just constant like droning noise in the background, kind of like that. But like yeah, you really don't have to go long to start seeing stuff, but I would think it would be cool as a challenge. The most anyone's ever stayed awake is 11 days.
I don't want to die.
We don't have to go 11 days.
I don't want to die. I'm gonna die if I do that.
Yeah, I'm not saying we go 11 days, but maybe just like...
Did he die?
The people... No, there's multiple people that have made 11, but for some reason at 11, your body just... Like,
shuts down.
You can't go any further than 11. But maybe like 2 or 3.
I could do that. I could do 2 or 3.
We could try that. It would be a hard deal. Speaking of sleep, not to get too off topic, but I read recently that...
It's a podcast. Everything's on topic.
That's exactly right. I like that mindset.
Continue.
I was thinking, because we learned recently in psychology class about... Or we went over like power naps and how you need a certain amount of sleep per night to really feel well rested, but you can sometimes only like 15 to 20 minute power naps can help you really re-energize. But if you take like an hour long nap, your
body
really
goes
tired.
Like into the mode of like
exactly.
It's like a point of no return almost.
So that made me think just a couple of days ago: is it possible to survive for a long period of time on only power naps? And I looked it up, and some people have tried it, and it is possible. This one article I read in particular was this guy, every 4 hours, took a power nap that lasted about 15 to 20 minutes, so 6 times a day. And based on his and like other people's experiences that he referenced, it's like it can be really hard to get into that mode, and it takes like a few days. But once you get into it, at first you feel like really good. You're always energized, and you're always like, and you never really need to sleep. But then, like, days will start feeling like a really long ass time.
Yeah, because you're awake for so long.
And also what'll start happening is I mean, you're only awake for 4 hours at a time, but like you wake up or you go to sleep and wake up, it's daytime. You go to sleep, wake up, it's still daytime. It's like all still the same day, but what your body will do is it'll start, once it is like after a week or two of in that new mode, it'll start to almost instantly bring you into REM sleep where you can have dreams in that 15 to 20 minute period. It'll train itself to just instantly go into that, and that'll help you feel more energized. It'll also, like, after 4 hours or after however long, you probably do like 6 hours 4 times a day, but after 4 hours, you're like, all of your energy will immediately drain, and you could lay down and fall asleep in like 10 seconds.
Oh, so you start to change and condition your body to only be able to function.
Yeah, exactly.
For a short amount of time.
Yeah, and so like he said, sometimes he'll be hanging out with his friends, and all of a sudden, bam, he'll feel like all of his energy go away, and he's like, I need to go away and sleep in my car for like 20 minutes, and then I'll be back. So
yeah, I don't feel that's like, in our day and age, I don't think that's very efficient. Just because in our day and age, that's not how we work.
Yeah, and that's why I think I didn't specifically see this, but I'm sure you could do, like, instead of 6 times a day, you could do 4 times a day every 6 hours.
Ration it out in a different way.
But instead of 15 to 20 minutes naps, it's like maybe 30 minutes. Like, ration out in a different way, yeah. But he said that once you really, after like a few weeks of doing it, you start to lose, like, or you start to look at other people a different way. You start to look at them as, like, different than you because they live in a completely different reality, he said, than you do. They all have this same, like, sleep schedule, and they all go to sleep at night and wake up in the day and have this 12-hour, 14-hour period where they're awake, and then they sleep. But he, on the other hand, was like, I go to sleep for the night, but it's still daytime when I wake up, and then it's still the same day when I wake up, and it's like
no, that definitely
hard to process. Like if you have a due date for something, like that doesn't really mean anything to you anymore because that could be forever away. But even if it's only like a few days away.
Yeah, because now sleep is like I don't really know how to explain.
Yeah, it's like. But he said it could be really hard to motivate yourself to do anything after a while during those 4-hour periods because you're just like, I'll do it in my next block, or I'll do it a bit, because you never really realize how close something could be.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but like sleep is like our like, it's almost like our sense of time.
Yeah, for sure.
It's and like our sense of time.
If everybody switched to do it, then we would all be...
It would be normal.
It would be normal, and we'd all live, but we'd all perceive time differently. Because, yeah, when we think of days, we don't really think of sunrise, sunset. We think of...
Oh, that's like 4 naps away, 5 naps away.
Or 4 sleeps away, you know?
Yeah. That's so trippy, though. What the
hell?
Sleep
is really weird, because kind of tying back into staying awake for a long period of time, it's like what'll start to happen is your brain will... And that kind of goes back to the stuff you see, or stuff you see when you do... drugs, like
drugs, don't do drugs,
all that kind of stuff. When you don't sleep for a long amount of time, like, are you just... is it just in your head, or is it really there and you're seeing and hearing and experiencing things that are actually there, but sleep like keeps us, or not being on psychedelics keeps us...
Is sleep another form of being awake?
Ooh, yeah, because then it ties into dreams and all that kind of, like, why do we dream and why did all that stuff happen?
Mm-hmm.
But sleep is definitely weird. It's like, I don't know, it's very, very strange.
I think the body itself, physical body, is very easy to explain, you know? Just put it under a microscope and record what you see. But the brain, on the other hand, there's like 2 parts to it, you know? Like there's like, oh, the physical brain. There's this part and that part that's...
And then there's the mind.
Yeah, and like, you know, there's your own conscious. And you're like, why do I hear this voice in my head?
The consciousness and for sure. Do you think that our mind and our brain are like the same thing, or our mind is in our brain?
I think they're 2 sides of the same coin type of shit.
Because like you look at people with like split personality disorder.
Yes,
like
I think I have split personality, so I think I'm going fucking crazy.
Really?
No, I was just saying that, but like I do weird shit. Continue.
Yeah, but people with severe split personality disorder, again, like in Mr. Robot, it's literally like 2 people living inside of one brain, living inside of one body. If you have severe enough, you'll like switch and you'll be a completely different person with a completely different motives.
I think your brain has to be fucking large for that type of shit.
Well, I mean, that kind of goes, like, my thought on that is that it's 2 people living inside of one body, one brain, and we as like the society accepts it as like a mental disorder, or it's like it's you, but it's just like you acting differently. But it's like, now obviously Mr. Robot isn't based on a true story, but it's pretty realistic in its depictions of mental health, and in that it's like Elliot is constantly battling with Mr. Robot over control of his body and the things they want to do, and they like fight each other. Eventually they make up and be best friends.
They make out.
But like it's very, very interesting to think about that. And then you also think about diseases like Alzheimer's, which when you have Alzheimer's and you start to lose all your memories and you start to lose or forget a lot of things, is that like your mind going away, like disappearing and dying, or is your mind unable to connect with your body or your brain, I guess it would be, and unable to like display itself and bring itself out?
Your body... Wait, Alzheimer's is when like you basically just forget.
Yeah, over time you just forget more and more things to the point where you'll forget like who your family members are or anything like that, or you forget any of what you were before. Is your mind dying, or is it just disconnecting?
I think your mind is dying because you're old.
Sure, but like I guess that plays into the idea of like an afterlife. Do we think that there's an afterlife?
That's crazy. I don't know.
And our mind is like
disconnected. Death is the equivalent of being before you were born.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely insane. I just think that's not like insane that it's false.
But,
I just think that's crazy.
Well,
I think
that it's really crazy when you think about before we were born, our entire world, everything we could possibly perceive was inside of our mother's womb. And that was everything to us. There's nothing outside of that. So what if this is just like that? And when we die, or it's like nothing we could have perceived and it's something completely different. It's like an endless cycle over and over again. And it's like slipping back into that state, but being born in some new...
Oh! Hear me out, Kevin. You literally just reminded me.
Sure.
So you know reincarnation, right?
Yeah.
What if there's actually a set amount of souls or beings in this world, but they're all in a different form? So, like, there's just souls and they're all in a different form, whether that be human or animal or whatever. But due to the fact that we're tearing our world apart, animals can't live anymore. Mm-hmm. So they have to take human form, which explains the 8 billion people and the such little animals.
Sure. That's one idea. I think that I've kind of thought about that sort of idea a lot lately. Like, and I've kind of thought, or one thought experiment I've been playing with is, what if when we die, like this plays into the infinite parallel universe theory too, which I'm a big fan of, and I think is plausible because like you can't disprove it, and we know there's other dimensions. There's like 11 different dimensions or something.
Yeah, you can mathematically prove that there's at least 11. No, it's at least 22.
Is it?
It's at least 22.
I didn't even know.
No, it's 11, but you'd need 22 for another different theory of wormholes.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
sorry, continue.
So I thought, what if, the theory is like there's a parallel universe out there where everything is there's an infinite number of them where everything is identical to this one except for like one slight change, like I'm drinking an orange soda instead of a Coca-Cola.
Yeah, like
right and that's the only change in the entire history of that entire universe. Like, but then then there's an infinite number of other universes where there's a ton of stuff that's different, like Hitler 1 or something like that.
Yeah.
And
like
I
the
thought,
Rick and Morty episode. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't seen that one.
So like every time they make a new decision, a new dimension is made, and then like these dimensional beings get pissed. I'll show you one time. They look like ball sacks.
And that got me thinking, what if every time we have like a new idea, this ties into another thought experiment, which is what if our ideas are like other dimensional beings that their sole purpose is to
just
plant
to
themselves in your brain and then exist in our world. So it made me think, what if every idea we've ever had, and that includes like books or movies or stories or dreams or fantasies that we have in our head, or any sort of idea that maybe I should go over and talk to this person or anything. What if each and every single one of those is like shadows of other parallel universes and dimensions? And what if like so like I was in and I kind of started thinking about this a couple months ago when I was in Universal Studios in LA, and I was walking around in Harry Potter world, and I was like, this is so crazy that this all stemmed from like one person's mind, and now they're like real buildings and real things. And I'm like, what if this is just a really big shadow, and there's an alternate dimension out there where like Harry Potter is actually real, and it's like the way it projected ourselves was as an idea in J.K. Rowling's head.
Yeah, what if like...
And then that idea physically manifested itself in the form of books and movies and a theme park. And
let's combine the two then. My theory and yours, and let's think of this. This is completely possible too then. What if like... Again, I said, what if there's a set amount of souls or whatever the fuck? What if there's like ideas that project project themselves in different ways, and like, once they're out there, they're alive, and once they die, they're gone, whether they come back or whatever the fuck. But like, what if like it's like all these ideas or things are real and true, but like there's one like almost there's like dominant ones, so like Hitler losing was like, we could say, is a dominant one. And then him winning in our mind is a subclass of it. Yeah,
as far as this universe and this like timeline is concerned, that would be like a dominant one versus a submissive one, if we want to use BDSM terms. But yeah.
Damn it, Kevin. But yeah, that's just what I was thinking. Well, oh wait, back to sleep real quick.
Sure.
There's one time I was in English class and I was just blinking, and then I fell asleep.
Mm-hmm.
I found that crazy.
You were not like too tired or anything?
No, I was fucking tired of shit.
Oh, okay.
I was awake. I fell asleep at 8, woke up at 2 in the morning, stayed up from 2 till 6, and then I left at 6:45 to go to school. And in school, I was just blinking, like you normally do.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, I'm waking up.
Huh.
I'm waking up.
What grade was that?
No, this was like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was in English class.
Oh, well, there you go.
And I was just like, what the? I'm waking up right now. What? When did I fall asleep?
Huh.
I just find it crazy.
Well, yeah, like just yesterday, and similar things have happened in class. I'm like sitting on the couch and I'm really tired, and then like, I'll be sitting there and I'll be really tired, and then all of a sudden I'll realize like, I'm in the process of falling asleep, or like, I'm sitting here with my eyes shut and like I'm almost asleep, or when you're in class, when I was in class, like English class, and like my eyes were drooping heavily, and then you like jump you know how you do sometimes when you're about to fall asleep, you jump yourself awake. It's like,
because like your heart rate goes too slow.
Yeah,
all of a sudden.
And like that's happened to me in class before, especially like in 9th and 10th grade. That happened to me a few times, but it's like, how do you let yourself do that? It's just like an automatic thing that your body does, and you don't really have.
Yeah, it's kind of like digestion. You know, you don't think about it; it just happens.
Yeah, pretty wild.
It's pretty fucking crazy. There's another thing I wanted to talk about that you like fucking triggered my brain. Oh, that was it. Triggers. Like so lately, I don't know. I was just laying in. No, so I told my girlfriend this one, but something triggered my brain. It just triggered a memory, and it was a memory of it wasn't even it was a dream. I triggered a dream of fucking me leaving my coat somewhere, and my girlfriend was with me, and that's it. I left my coat on a coat rack. Huh. That was it, and it just triggered in my brain. It just kept replaying and replaying and replaying. I was like, what the hell is this? Or like, actually recently, one of my dreams has been fucking, I wake up, I look around, I'm like, oh, it's 2 a.m. I go back to bed, but in my dream it's just black and I see jars, and the jars go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, and they're all poured in this specific order, and it goes A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, C, 5, and then I wake up, and I'm like, oh, it's 2 a.m. Then I go back to bed, and I see the same thing, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, C, 5, and then I wake up. And it's just like it's this endless cycle, and I'm like, what the fuck? Weird. And that happened probably like last Tuesday or something. Probably Tuesday.
Huh.
Yeah, it's just crazy, like just crazy things.
That's very strange.
Yeah, I know. Like my dreams have been like, you know how like people forget, like it's supposedly you forget like 90% of your dream right when you wake up.
Yeah. There
are just some dreams I have so vividly, they're just ingrained in my mind. Like I will just not, I can't forget them. I just find that like, what are those ones? You know, what about those
stronger shadows than others?
Exactly.
Ones that you forget, or maybe it's that one was so big you did forget 90% of it, but the stuff, it was so vivid that you think that's all of it.
Or like, have you ever had like a dream that like just continues?
You know, like picks up where it picks
up where you left off.
That has happened to me a couple of times, but not in a while. And like, I can't remember any specific examples of it, but I know it's happened to me. Yeah, it's really weird when that happens.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, no, it's fucking creepy. I don't like those. I mean, they're not creepy, but I just.
How often do you? Oh, you lucid dream pretty often, don't you?
Not maybe like no. Actually, no. I don't lucid dream a lot, but when it happens, I just know for like a split second. I really know when I'm I know when I have sleep paralysis. Yeah. I just know.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah, I just know. It's like, okay, I want to test this out. I want to test this out. You know?
When you're laying there completely still, you think, well, what could you test out?
So, what I've been doing lately with my what's it called? With my sleep paralysis is that this one's actually super interesting. I go to pick up my phone that's charging next to me. And this one time I was like, I'm going to go pick up my phone. and I like try to twitch my hands, and I'm like, oh, I can't, and then I do it. I just get up, I just sit up, I grab it, I check the time, I go back to bed. But then I wake up.
Yeah.
Like right after. And I'm like,
for
wait.
real.
Yeah, like for real. And I'm like, wait, did I actually pick it up, or is that just my brain tricking me?
That's interesting.
Making me think I did it.
And that got you out of it, just thinking that strong enough, like got you out of your sleep paralysis.
I want to say it did.
Huh.
Because it like my brain was like, oh yeah, you did do this. Oh, you knew. But then you wake up and you're like, no, I didn't.
It's like those dreams you have where you wake up and for a second you think like that really happened, like that was real life, and like you're like, oh shit, and then you realize, oh, it's just a dream. That's such a great feeling of relief whenever you realize something's like was just a dream.
I've never really had one of those.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of times where I've woken up and it's like it's like I'm kind of still in the dream state, but I like sit up and I'm like, for like maybe like 2 seconds or less, I think, oh shit, like I'm still in that panic mode where I was when the dream left off, but then I'm like just take a sigh of relief and I'm like, oh, it's just a dream. I can go back. I can go back to bed and I can sleep comfortably knowing that whatever happened wasn't real. Like that's happened to me sometimes.
Yeah, no, this one time, I was like running away in my dream from this dude, and I just couldn't run. I was like falling over and stuff, and like everything kept on going black for a second, and my eyes kept on hurting. And I realized, like every time I went black in my dream, I was opening my eyes in real life.
Huh. That's interesting.
And I found that out because my eyes were really dry.
Yeah.
And they just really hurt. And I was like, that's like the only explanation. Like in my dream, like everything kept on going black, like black, then back in the dream, black, back in the dream. Turns out, like I'm pretty sure I was opening my eyes.
Huh.
And like my brain would process what I see in real life and then just go back to sleeping.
Yeah.
Or like just go back into the dream.
That's weird.
Like I just find it crazy.
That reminds me of we were talking about like continuing dreams, picking up where they left off at different like nights, and the one thing that's similar to that isn't a continuing. It's not like a continuing story, but it's something that I've done in a lot of dreams that I've had, including just recently. And I guess it's kind of a basic one. A lot of people like have dreams where they're flying. It's not like that, but it's like I'll be walking along in my house or at school or outside or something, and I'll be walking, and then I'll like lift just like up to my knees. I'll lift like up off the ground, and I'll be like, I'll just kind of float. And in my dream, every single time, I'm like, this is so easy. Like, why doesn't everybody do this? I'm just gonna walk around like this. Like, and I think flying or like hovering or floating is so easy. Why doesn't everybody do this? And then I wake, and it feels so real every time. Like, that's probably the most realistic dream a real feeling dream that I have, where
and
I can
like
just
repeated.
And it's never like I'm jumping. Yeah, that happens a lot, but always in like different places. And it's never I take off really high through the sky or like fly around like that. It's like I'm just walking normal, except I lift, the lower part of my leg up like that. I just kind of float around, and like this is so nice.
Like you hover.
Yeah, just hover off the ground.
What the fuck?
That's one thing that I've had a lot of, including just a few days ago. I think I had one, or like in the last week. But that's the closest thing I can think of to a recurring dream. As far as lucid dreams, it's happened to me a couple of times. Like once, I don't know if it's happened since we moved here, but like fairly shortly before we moved out of our old house, I think it happened. And before that, maybe a couple of years before that. But I always love when that happens. It's like
lucid dreaming?
It's such a weird... Yeah, it's such a weird... Have you ever had lucid dreaming?
Yeah, but I don't really build off it. I'm just like, I'm dreaming.
Okay, so it's like... Yeah, sometimes it'll be like I'll just like be in the dream and I'll be like, wait a second, I'm dreaming. I'm asleep right now. And sometimes I'll be like... I don't know, it's so weird because I can feel myself laying in bed, but I'm still asleep and I'm still in the dream and I'm still like, I could do whatever I want. And I could walk around, and sometimes I'll be like, when that happens, I'll be like, oh shoot, now that I know this, I'm probably going to wake up. But sometimes I don't, and I can still like walk around. But it's never quite, because some people can lucid dream and just like imagine up whatever they want. It's never quite like that. It's usually, oh, I'm dreaming, I'm just going to go along for this ride, knowing that this is just a dream, and that nothing like bad is going to happen, and then I just let it go. But some people can like imagine up whatever they want or do whatever they want.
I don't know anyone that does that.
Well, I mean, I've heard the technique is to lucid dream, and to be able to lucid dream like legit like that is just before you go to bed, like knock on your door a few times or flip your light switch up and down.
Yeah, get something that you couldn't do in your dream.
And then when you're in your dream, it's like an automatic thing that you'll do the same thing. And then if like the light switch doesn't go on or you don't hear a noise or something's weird, then you'll know you're in a dream. And
yeah, no, you're right.
And I keep meaning I want to start doing that, but I just never do it for some reason.
But like it needs to be something that's like you would do, or like. Because, like, I don't know, in my dreams, if I turn on a light switch, it would probably turn on. I don't pay attention. I don't remember.
Well, I think the idea is because you did that before you went to sleep with the wanting to lucid dream in mind, then in your dream, you'll automatically, that won't happen. Like, it'll contradict whatever happened in real life. I think that's the idea. But, like, I could be wrong.
Yeah, like, oh, God, that's fucking creepy.
Yeah. Because you're like... it's like your subconscious will know in the dream already that this is a dream, and it's like that's the subconsciousness's way of telling you that you're in a dream. Like, hey, this thing you tried right before you went to sleep because you wanted a lucid dream.
Oh, it's like the signal.
It's like the signal, yeah. It's like
oh, you know.
And then your more conscious part, however conscious you can be in a dream, is like, oh, okay then. Now I can do whatever I want.
Whatever I want.
And most people just use it to have sex with whoever they want, but... Oh, that's another thing. I think I talked about this a while back when I was in your house. Are you going to talk about
wet dreams?
Yeah. Have you ever had one?
Nope.
I've had one in my whole life when I was in, like, 7th grade. And it technically wasn't even really a wet dream. I was just, like, walking along in my sleep. And, like, things started getting, like, really crazy, and, like... I started walking faster or running, and like things started getting super intense, like how they do in a lot of dreams. And then I wake up and splooge into the bed.
My friend said that you have wet dreams because you haven't jacked off in a while.
Maybe that was it. This was like 5 years ago, but that could have been it. Well, that's the only time that's ever happened. It was such a weird experience waking up and like just being soaked and it's just not a pleasant experience, I would say.
No.
But I never made the connection that was what people call a wet dream until like more recently when I've heard other people explain or talk about similar experiences. So.
Like I've never had a wet dream, but I definitely had like not sex, but like touching boobs or something. Like I think one time in like probably 5th or 6th grade. Just this random teacher sat on my lap, and I was like, what? So do I just touch your boobs now? And that was literally just a dream, and I was like, oh, okay.
That's weird.
Yeah, no, I was just like, what? Do I touch your boobs or something? I was confused. And then I touched her boobs.
Nice. Well, she'll be arrested.
Yeah. Because it's her fault. I'm a minor. I don't know better.
Yeah.
Not anymore. I'm not a minor anymore, but whatever. You know what I mean.
But I've never had sleep paralysis. Something I'm happy
You've never had sleep paralysis?
Yeah, I've said this before. I've never, ever once in my life experienced anything remotely close to sleep paralysis.
I think the best way...
I've heard so many people talk about it, though.
I think the best way to get sleep paralysis... Well, okay, so I've heard sleep paralysis happens when, like, you don't get enough oxygen into your brain or, like, into your body, but your brain is, like, still asleep.
Yeah, your body wakes up, but your brain is still like...
No, other way around. Mode. Your brain wakes up, but your body is still asleep. That's why you can't move.
But you still see things.
Oh, yeah. But that doesn't mean... But you can't move your body, so it's not awake.
Okay,
you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
But, like, I just heard that's the... Like, I don't know what scenario or, like, how, but, like, Brett, he fell asleep with his arms on his chest, lying down on them.
I remember this.
And he couldn't, like... And that's how he did it.
But he said that... I think he said that's the only time he's ever experienced it. And like he didn't see anything. He just like couldn't move.
Yeah, he just couldn't breathe.
And we were like, if you because he was lying on his back, so he was like facing down. I was like, I bet if you looked around, you would have seen some stuff, and that really freaked him out. He was like, oh, there was stuff in my room, and
like I think one of the biggest parts of it is actually if you have something like that, like if you're in like a certain position. Mm-hmm. And you, like, fucking, you can look around. Like, if you're, like, let's say you're looking left while you're sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
If you have sleep paralysis, I'm pretty sure you can look right.
Huh.
In your sleep. I'm pretty sure you can move and, like, you change your vision in your sleep.
Huh. That's weird.
But, like, yeah, that's just...
Yeah, I've never experienced anything close to it.
Really? That's so strange. I thought sleep paralysis was common.
I mean, I've heard so many people who talk about it, and, like, it's to the point where when people bring it up, it's, like, something that isn't that crazy or is, like, common. And I'm like, when I hear about it, it sounds horrifying. It sounds like some weird, supernatural, crazy experience. It's like seeing...
Yeah.
whatever figures in your room, like how that's like the scariest thing ever.
Like, well, there are like some explanations. Like, one time I was in a hotel and my mom was sleeping in one bed, I was sleeping in the other, and I was snoring. And when like, you know, you're snoring, like, and you just stop for once, and that's like when you can't breathe, and then you go and you start snoring again. Yeah. Right? Well, in that dream specifically, while I was sleeping, when I was snoring, like, I just heard a bunch of kids. I was at a carnival. These kids were saying the ABCs.
That is so weird. That's so weird. That's not like you hear. It's like so specific.
No. But I'm not done. I'm not done.
Okay, yeah.
So, like, they were singing the ABCs, and I was just like walking around, but I was holding my breath, and I had to wait until they were done before I could start breathing.
That's weird.
And then right when they ended, I go, you know, or like. I'm just saying, most of the time, like, most of my general sleep paralysis ones, it's when I can't breathe.
Huh.
Like, when like, let's say my finger's a blanket, when my nose is covered by the blanket like this, and I literally have to focus on breathing so I don't fucking die.
Yeah.
Or some shit. And I don't see anything. I just go...
Yeah.
Oh, also, when I breathe in my sleep paralysis, I can't breathe through my mouth. I can only breathe through my nose.
Yeah, maybe the part of the reason is now obviously I don't know this for sure, but as far as I know, I don't really snore or snore at all when I sleep. Like, no one's ever told me, hey, you were snoring, or...
I thought I didn't snore, and then someone took a video of me snoring.
Well, maybe I do, but as far as I know, I don't.
I don't think you snore, Kevin.
And I've never, like, well, actually, a lot of the time I do wake up with a really dry mouth, but it's always, like, my mouth is closed. It's just because I don't drink enough water, and I'm a dehydrated
Not
bitch.
like an actual dry, like your tongue is dry mouth.
Yeah, it's like my
just
throat.
Like sticky.
It's like my throat is parched, but not
yeah,
exactly. So yeah, but who knows?
Yeah, no, dreams are fuck. I was gonna do a dimension one. Okay. Dimensions. This reminds me of dimensions. Let's talk about that real quick.
Okay.
Wow, it's only been how long?
38.
Damn. We've really just been focused. God, fuck. But, dimensions. So, we talk about dimensions briefly, like, it can be mathematically proven that there's, at least 11 dimensions. Yeah. But, in theory, there has to be 22 in order to do a wormhole. You know what the wormhole thing is? Like,
sure.
It's a piece of paper. What if we put the both ends together?
You poke a pencil.
You poke a pencil to it. You get the wormhole. You know?
Yeah.
Thank you, science movies and shit. But, basically, so, what's the fourth dimension? Just go. You know, there's no right or wrong. What do you think it is?
Time is time.
Okay. No.
It is.
No. Explain.
Well, that's just what I've always heard it is. I mean, and then I've heard the fifth dimension is space.
No.
That's what Doctor Who said.
Doctor Who can lick my dick.
That's what everything else said, too. Okay, what is it then?
Okay, well, how scientists look at it is like a graph. So
okay, yeah, and like you okay, so it's like hold on, let me try to explain it this way. Maybe I'm right. It's like, well, 2-dimension would be flat.
Would be a line.
1-dimension. Oh no, yeah, 2-dimension would be a line, I guess. Sure.
1-dimension
is like a dot, which doesn't make sense to me.
What the fuck is happening?
Which doesn't really make sense to me. If like, well, the first dimension, second dimension, I can.
2 dimensions would be 2 lines. It would be like, it'll look like this.
Oh, okay, yeah, it'd be a plane in every. Yeah, but even then, that's still weird because like 1 dimension would just be in one like sideways direction.
Yeah, left and right.
But if it's going left and right, then there's got to be some sort of height to it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to move left or right. If there was no height to anything, it would just be because if you look at the tiniest dot on a piece of paper, or the tiniest like thinnest line on a piece of paper, which is how it's always represented, it still has some height.
Yeah,
to
it still has a height to it.
So I don't know. I can't really process what that.
No,
would
but
look
like there's no actual. So like yes, it will have height. Like the organism, the thing living it will have a height.
Yeah.
But it cannot go the direction up or down.
Okay, so it can't move in the height.
It can't move up or down. It will have a height. Everything
Okay.
has to have a height, but
Yeah.
it won't move in that direction.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Like it's not gonna be like a flat. It's not like a worm. You know. Well,
Yeah.
it could be, but you know, like.
And then, yeah, that makes sense. That makes more sense, I guess. And then the third dimension is what we're in, because
Yes.
that involves
Because we have depth.
the depth, exactly. And then fourth dimension being time. What I've always thought it as is you look at time like kind of like a ball. So like you could
Time is a ball.
like
Okay.
you would perceive, you'd be able to walk over there and you'd be 100 years ago, or you would perceive everything differently. So everything would have width and height and depth, but it would also have time, which is like,
yes.
so like you'd be able to move.
You'd be living in every moment at once.
Sure, yeah.
You could the most childish thing I've explained it as, which I know you've heard this before because I've said it before. Time to fourth dimensional being, if time is fourth dimension, it would be something they could crumple up and throw in the trash. It would be something physical.
Yeah.
That's
sure.
my point. Like, you know.
Yeah.
But if we're still gonna keep true to this theory of, oh, it's a line, then it's two lines, then it's a cube.
Mm.
Time isn't math. Like, you can't just insert time into a graph and see it as another dimension.
Well, I always assumed that was because we live in the third dimension and we can't really perceive we can like say that, oh, it's something you crumple up, but we can't really imagine what that would look like.
Yeah, you're right. But like, okay, so if I take zero dimension is a dot. It cannot move up, down, left, or right.
Okay.
2 0 dimensions make a line, right?
Uh-huh.
2 1 dimensions make a 2 dimension, and 2 2 dimensions make a 3 dimension.
Mm-hmm.
If you take 2 3 dimensions, that does not make time. That would make a fourth dimension.
But what else would it be besides time?
It would. So if we took a cube and a cube, I think they call it tesseract. If I take a cube and connect like the outside points of like the farthest points to each other, and like basically connect the points relative to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So like the top left to the top left, top right.
Yeah.
You know, like that.
Yeah, I've heard of the
that
tesseract.
that is the perspective and the dimension of a fourth dimensional thing.
Which, yeah, but like, what is, then you try to define that fourth dimensional thing, and it's like you would define that as
Exactly.
time.
You cannot. No, you wouldn't define that as time.
That's just what it looks like.
No, time is relative to change.
Because we on the third dimension perceive time in a straight line.
Yeah.
So when
Because if I move this, that's it. You know, you can't go back and undo that, because then it'll be from here to here.
Yeah, and like days on a calendar and all that.
Yeah, you can't go
but
back
like,
in days.
But if you're a second dimension being with up and down, and left to right,
mm-hmm.
then you would think of the third dimension as, it would be like a straight line. Yeah, it would be a straight line just moving in the depth direction. You would be able to, as obviously I'm not a second dimensional being, but like since you would understand up and down and left and right, then if you heard the concept of, depth, you would be able to picture it in the way that we picture time, and you'd be able to say, oh, that's like if you move, this weird like in and out. It's like in and out, I guess. You move in, you move out. That's what depth is, and you would be able to think that, but you wouldn't be able to perceive. You wouldn't be able to see it or perceive it. And since we perceive time on a straight line, just like a second dimensional being would perceive depth on a straight line, in and out,
mm-hmm.
then that makes sense to me, that time, because
that makes sense to me too.
Depth isn't just in and out. It's, well, it is essentially, but there's like, you can move diagonally in. So it's like, but the best they could do is like just in and out straight way, because they have straight lines up and down.
Yeah, but like, okay, so if I was a two-dimensional being, let's say this can's a two-dimensional being. If I put my hand, let's say you're a two-dimensional being.
Yeah.
If I put my hand in your face, it's gonna look huge.
Yeah.
But if I pull it away, it looks smaller. For a second-dimensional being, it won't change.
Mm-hmm.
It won't change. It will look the
'cause you won't have
same.
depth. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it will look the same the entire way.
Yeah, and so for a fourth dimensional being, for us, what we see like 100 days from now is 100 days from now. It's a long ways away. But for a fourth dimensional being, 100 days from now would look the same or be perceived the same as 1 day from now, because they'd be living in all of it at once.
Yeah, but here's my point. You see how I said, like, if it's here, it's huge to us. If it's back, it's small. For a second dimensional being, it wouldn't change. Time is relative to change for us, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I don't think time can be the fourth dimension, because it changes relative to what, like, relative to how we see it. For a second dimensional being, the distance or depth of something won't change, because they can't perceive like that. We can technically perceive time because it's relative to change to us. But for a second dimensional being looking at the third dimension, they don't understand that. So like that's at least how I see.
So yeah, the second dimensional being wouldn't be able to, if it came across something with depth, it wouldn't be able to perceive the change.
It couldn't tell if
depth.
it's getting closer or farther, basically.
So if we applied that to the third dimensional beings, if we came across something like we can think about time in our heads, but if we came across a fourth dimensional being, which we and for this case we'd assume is like time, then that would be, I mean, I don't know, it seems like we would perceive it in the same kind of way, where we wouldn't really be able to perceive it. We would only be able to perceive it in the way that we perceive third dimensional things, but it wouldn't, and it would be. So when a second dimensional being sees a third dimensional being, and the third dimensional being is moving, to the second dimensional being, it doesn't see that depth change.
It doesn't see it getting farther away. Only sees it moving up, down, left, and right.
Yeah, so the fourth dimensional being could be doing something that we wouldn't be able to perceive. But just because we can't perceive it doesn't mean it's not happening. Kind of like the wind.
Fuck the wind.
But we could still see the effects of it. So like, because a second dimensional being would still, because like we have time, at least in the way that we can think about it. Who knows what else time could be? A second dimensional being would also probably, wouldn't a second dimensional being also have time?
Time relative to its directions I can perceive.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so like, oh, it was left at this time. It was right at this time. Up, left,
Makes sense.
So, yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how... Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, that's just what I've always heard, and it makes enough sense to me, as much as it possibly could make sense to me as a third-dimensional being. The one that confuses me a little bit more is when, like, they say fifth dimension would be space. I'm not entirely sure what that means. Like, I've heard the fourth dimension being time explained a bunch of different times in different ways, but I've never really heard anyone dive into why the fifth dimension is space.
Well, I don't know. Time and space are always hand in hand in, like, literally anything.
Yeah, you're right. But, like, to me, I don't know.
I don't understand that. How could... Because the next dimension would have to be something we don't, understand. We can perceive space. We can understand it to an extent.
Yeah, and maybe I'm wrong, but isn't space essentially height plus width plus depth? Like, all three of those combined? Isn't that, like, we see the space between me and the ceiling. We can see how far away it is because of depth, and it's above me because of height and all that, and we can see how long it is. Yeah. Isn't that what space is?
Isn't that space? That also means... See, I think third dimension is where it starts to get freaky-deaky.
And that's what we're in.
That's officially when it starts to get freaky-deaky.
And that's why we occasionally can see freaky-deaky stuff, like you can see freaky-deaky stuff.
Because, like, a second-dimensional being wouldn't be able to tell the space in between something. Yeah. Unless it was far away from them, which they even couldn't tell that. And it moved left, right, up, or down. Yeah. Could only tell left, right, up, or down if it... From it... So let's... I don't know how to explain it. Like, if... Let's say a second-dimensional being sees a ball and it moves left. The only space it could perceive is where it is now and where it is, like, and to originally where it was, you know? It can only perceive that space. Yeah. So, like, I don't think they can truly perceive space. I don't know.
They can't perceive all aspects of space because they can't perceive depth.
That's true.
But they can perceive two of the three.
Okay, well, that's bold to assume that there's only three aspects of space.
So what if time is another aspect of space? that we just can't see
Can't
because we're
perceive.
third dimensional.
What if? Okay, then that mean. Okay, well that means.
Because that makes sense. Because depth is just another aspect of. Well, depth would be another aspect of space, or like.
Yeah. But that means if you say space is the fifth dimension, there should be no dimensions after that, since space is like the.
Well, we would think so, but
unless there's even another one that we don't understand.
So, like, I guess the way to look at it would be like third dimension. Obviously, we get because we're in it. We were living in it. We are the third
let's
dimension.
be honest. We don't actually completely even understand our third dimensional
sure,
shit. But continue.
But as well as we can, we make do. But the fourth dimension would be like we can perceive it, but like on a line, in a straight line, like the way we perceive time. And then the fifth dimension, we can get like you hear space. You kind of get what we only see it from a third dimensional standpoint, which involves depth, width, and height. But since it's the fifth, you would, in order to fully understand it, you would need time. Since we can't fully perceive time, then we can't even like picture what the fifth dimension would really be like, because we only have a vague idea of what the fourth would be. So we would only be able to picture the fifth based on what we have from 1, 2, and 3. And then the fourth would just be like, well, yeah, what's time got to do with it? Is time another aspect of it? And then then you go to 6 and you're like, well, we really don't know what the fifth one is because we never figured out what the fourth one is completely. So we can only picture the 6 based on what we know, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so we're basically stuck.
We're stuck unless we figure something out.
You can't skip levels.
Yeah, you gotta, and you can like in the next level, like same thing with second dimensional. They can hear what like depth would be like, and they're like, okay, it's like how we can move left and right and up and down. They can move in they can also move in a different direction, and it's like similar, but it's different, and they can get that without really getting it, but they can think about it, kind of like we can think about time, but they can't picture. I don't know. Can they picture time?
Who?
Second dimensional beings.
I mean, relative to what they see, like again, I was talking about the ball.
You're right. Yeah,
like oh, that was when you like 3 seconds ago. Yeah, you fuck.
So how would we potentially break into the fourth dimension?
I think, I think it's just because it's the most simple, unexplained, you can't argue against the answer. Black holes.
One of my favorite movies is Interstellar.
And one of my favorite movies is Interstellar.
The ending is supposedly, at least what I get from the ending, is that he breaks. They go through the wormhole, and then he breaks through the fourth dimension or something, and he sees like the weird library, and then he does the dust thing. That plays into the time thing because he goes through all the different moments of his daughter's life, and can go up to any one like you would if you were
in the library bookshelf thing.
So. Yeah, so I mean, wormhole. I never really got because they went through the wormhole. And there was
just for fun, honestly.
They went through the wormhole and like the girl Anne Hathaway felt her hand be touched, like a hand. She said first handshake, and we find out later that was Matthew McConaughey at the end of the fourth dimension. So like
spoilers.
But how spoilers for a 6-year-old movie. But how would a wormhole, like, how did he get to the fourth dimensional place? That I never actually got. Because he was, like, in his spaceship, and he was, like, giving up, okay, I'll save you, and I'm gonna, like, die in order for you to be saved. And then all of a sudden, he gets flown into the place. Mm-hmm. That, I never really got how he got there.
Like, if I'm just gonna guess and be, like, a theorist and, like, some stupid fuck.
Yeah.
It would be, like, his intentions. Like, his intentions. Like, in a dream, like, let's say... Like in a dream, if like you're scared, you might have a nightmare. If you're happy, you might have a good dream. I think it's all intentions in your mind too.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
That's just what I think.
Yeah, we'll go with that. I don't know what else it could be.
Like, let's take some like real world examples then.
Okay.
Like not like about Interstellar specifically, but like let's take God from Christianity.
Sure.
By definition, he is at least a fourth dimensional being. Mm-hmm. Literally, by definition, like it said, God is outside of space and time.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the Bible. I know it says...
Because he was there before time. And
yes. But exactly.
The Bible would be written from... Well, obviously from a third-dimensional perspective. So
before time is relative to whenever the fuck we began.
Exactly. And So I mean, yeah. But then you think, well, is God a fifth dimensional being? It doesn't really feel like it. So was there higher things? I mean, yeah, I don't know. Wild stuff.
Okay, well, okay, is he a fifth dimensional? Okay, so you know how like there's heaven and hell, it's like supposedly there's heaven and hell,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Let's assume God. Let's just assume for the hell of it, because probably says in the Bible somewhere that God made heaven and hell.
Probably.
Probably says somewhere. Like if he can create a dimension, he's gonna have to understand it.
That makes sense.
So he might as well not even be a fifth dimensional being. He might be a sixth dimensional being, because if you know.
Yeah.
Because you like.
I don't know, man. That stuff's wild.
I don't know. The religion's strange.
Yeah, it is.
Religion always gets a bad rap.
All the religions with the hard, fast rules and like about, I don't know, this makes you good and this makes you bad.
Yeah, no, I just find, yeah.
It just seems very like black and white and simple and straightforward. I don't think the answers to the universe and all of everything are black and white and simple and something. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think it's that simple. That's so bullshit.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I don't know how deep we want to get into it, but there's all these laws in the Old Testament. There's one I remember in Deuteronomy that's like if a guy does something, you have to like break his nutsack, or it's something ridiculous and kind of funny. But and all of that, but all that stuff goes away in the New Testament, like because Jesus makes the new laws, but a lot of them are still similar to what was already in the Old Testament. And I don't know, but then you still get people today who follow the Old Testament laws. So like who's right and who's wrong according to the Christian perspective. All these people have different opinions and think they're right.
Like, and the Old Testament basically says, here, I'll give an example. In the Old Testament basically said you're not allowed to eat pig. Because pig back then was like really dirty and they didn't have the equipment or technology to clean it properly. But then in the New Testament, all of a sudden, you can eat pig. It's clean now.
Yeah.
Because I assume they had the technology to do it. To eat it cleanly, you know? Like, in the Old Testament, you say, don't be gay, or else you'll literally get AIDS.
Yeah.
Like, you'll literally actually get AIDS.
Yeah.
But then, like, in the New Testament, it says nothing about homosexuality.
Yeah, it says nothing.
Because I'm assuming they had the technology to, like, be safer or, like, do something about it. Mm-hmm. That's my theory, at least.
Yeah, that's one thing, is, like, even the Old Testament, I don't know if it specifically says something about, like, two same genders sleeping together is bad, does it?
And when in Noah, it was like, it basically said that they were gay and it was bad.
Okay, yeah, it says all these different things that people were doing that made everybody bad, like infidelity and all that kind of stuff.
Well, infidelity is different from being homosexual.
Yeah, but like all the similar stuff. But then that goes back to the question of the Bible has been translated from different languages over the course of thousands of years. Do we really think everything is identical to how it was when it was written? And
definitely.
Like practically speaking, and like do we really think, and there are some words in the Old Testament that people have said like we came up with, or we fit it with the closest word that we had. It's not actually like the true meaning of what the original text was. It's like
you can't do that directly. That's impossible.
Yeah, and there's, I don't know, it definitely, things have changed and things have been like altered and cut out, and there was the Pharisees.
God is perfect, but the human translation is not, Kevin.
In the New Testament, there's the Pharisees who hate Jesus, and obviously, but like Jesus preaches things according to like the Old Testament. Mm-hmm. So why do they hate him? It's because they want the Old Testament to be perceived in a certain way. So they also probably changed things in the Old Testament and got rid of all the original text. So like things have been altered.
Personally, Kevin.
Yeah.
After what I've, personally what I experienced or I have experienced.
Yeah.
I just don't believe there's a God.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there's a good and evil force. Maybe it's next dimensional or a higher dimension than us.
Yeah.
But I don't believe whatever it's talking about in the Bible. I don't think that exists.
Well, I agree. I'm definitely not, I don't consider myself an atheist, but
I think there's a higher power. It's just not God-like,
Yeah, it's not the way.
It's just something that's higher than us, and there's probably something equal to it or higher than it also, Mm-hmm. I don't think there's a one God and he rules all over the multi-dimensional universe.
Yeah, what a lot of people say who've like done psychedelics or anything like that is they all often say that like the beings they see, or like on DMT, the beings they see are, they're not like completely foreign. They're like connected to us in a way, almost like we
They're in a form
or,
that we can understand.
yeah, but like
Not like completely understand, but like, you know.
yeah, the idea is that like we are all connected through the universe, and we're all like super.
We're like that's so trippy because we could be supernatural and a god to second dimensional being.
Yeah, I know this is like kind of a cheesy cliche thing to say, but like the idea is that we are essentially gods in the sense that we when we die we like ascend to this higher plane that we see on psychedelics, and we like conform into one part of the universe, but we're still our own thing, but we all like are one like flow of the universe or
we're all
whatever.
one. You know, we're just all different fishies in the same pond.
Yeah, but that's the like idea, and I don't know how if that's what I think, but I don't know. I don't think there's like something that's 100% in charge of what we do, and we have to do a certain set of things in order to appease this one thing. And
yeah, I just
and that's not just like a Christianity thing. I think in general super organized religion is like
not realistic,
and also it's been warped so much over time. Like there's so many examples of like cult like places, or they get you to like, a basic example is like mega churches. There's so many mega churches. Yep. Donate to the mega church and to support us going, but all these pastors and priests have like private jets and all this money, and
private clearly jets, helicopters. Yeah.
Clearly they're taking advantage of people's want to believe in something and to believe in like an afterlife and all that.
Have you
just
heard
so they
of...
can get their own.
No, continue.
Stuff.
I'll look it up.
But yeah, I mean that's kind of the thought.
Have you heard of Ramtha?
I'm not sure. I don't. That doesn't ring a bell.
So one of the common the fastest way to make money is to make a religion.
Mm-hmm.
Ramtha is a cult.
Yeah.
In Yelm.
Huh.
Yelm, Washington.
Yelm. Oh, in Washington.
Yelm, Washington. It's probably like an hour and a half to 2 hours away from here.
Huh.
And basically the thing goes, oh, this old lady's possessed by 700-year-old like lizard demon.
Jeez.
And like, basically my point is like shit can pop out of nowhere.
Yeah, for sure. Oh,
That's basically my point. Shit can pop out of nowhere.
There are so many Mormons, and Mormonism is like 200 years old tops, and like,
oh fuck yeah.
And it's like, but versus some ancient, and there's dead religions, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff. I just don't. Yeah. I mean, it's not inherently bad to believe in any of that stuff. Like, not at all. Just be like a decent person and don't. Because you look at Westboro Baptist Church.
I don't know what that is.
So they're like the God Hates Fags group who protest anything that has anything to do with like being gay,
they're like homophobic
and like say they're super homophobic, but they like write that God hates fags and gay people are gonna burn in hell, and they're super like hateful, and they're basically a cult, but they consider themselves Christians. So but then there's plenty of decent people, good people who are Christians. And it's not like.
It's basically like, it's instant stereotyping. Basically, oh, if you wear a turban, you're terror. You know, it's like...
Yeah, exactly.
It's instant stereotyping.
Yeah, and it's like it's not like believing in that stuff instantly makes you an idiot or a bad person or anything like that.
It's just the world we live in, fool.
Yep.
I feel that world peace isn't good.
Really?
Now hear me out.
Okay.
That's a bold statement, but like I feel the only way to get world peace is if everyone thinks the same. You know?
Okay, yeah, I see where you're coming from.
And thinking different is what makes us human, you know? Because animals all think the same. They all have the same instincts. They all have the same reaction to everything. It's in their DNA. It's in their blood. It's how they work.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
But for us, I could like the color blue and you could hate it. But for all birds, if they see the color blue, it might mean, oh, that's a poisonous insect.
Sure, yeah, that's a good point.
You know, it's not... To them, it's like, oh, that's a poisonous insect. There's no one bird that's going to be like, ooh, blue tastes like blue raspberry. I'm going to eat it. You know, like... I think like that's what I'm coming from when I say I don't think world peace is good. It's gonna strip us from humanity.
I get where you're coming from. I think the argument against that would be world peace in that sense is good. What world peace would mean is
just
everybody
tolerate each other.
Tolerating each other, accepting the fact that everybody thinks differently and people can have disagreements.
That's not gonna happen though.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
That's not happening.
It's not happening. Not at least in a very, very long time. Yeah. Probably, and the population just keeps growing.
Well, after we're dead.
Yeah.
We're gonna be. Yeah, we're gone.
Yep.
But okay. How are we doing?
1 hour and 6.
We want to cut in next episode?
Yeah, let's do it. I gotta pee. So I guess that's the end of Feeding Tube episode 3. Very existential, very dimensional dreams.
Very otherworldly.
Yeah, which is good to have episodes like that.
Yeah, it's not in this world. Very politician. That was Feeding Tube. Numero tres. Adios.
Get fed.
Get fed.
Boys.
Swag.